Hey, student body. This is Doc Ayers. Wanted to take a moment to talk to you a little bit, just for a couple of minutes, about what's coming up in chapel this week. We're doing a series from the book of Micah, verse 8, which tells us, He has told you, O man, what is good, and what does the Lord require of you, but to do justice, and to love kindness, and to walk humbly with your God. The series is on God's expectations, no excuses permitted. I don't know if you've ever thought about what is it that God really expects of me on a day-by-day basis. And as the opportunity has presented itself for us to do this series this week, I've been thinking on that quite a bit and consequently trying to pay attention to this very principle in my own life. I'm speaking on Thursday, so I've got the wrap-up of the series this week. And so I'm speaking specifically on walking humbly with your God. And I'm just coming back fresh from a week away. And I had a fascinating experience this past week. During my travels, I was on an airplane catching a connecting flight from Philadelphia to Chicago. And I sat next to a young lady who told me a few things, that a brief introduction to each other when you sit down to a next person on a plane. And she started telling me what she did for a living, and she wanted to know, of course, what I did for a living. And then for some reason, she started to launch into a little bit of her history. And I guess what kind of reminded me how careful I needed to be in talking with her was this verse came to mind. And it's probably familiar to you. In Colossians 4, it says, "Conduct yourselves wisely toward outsiders, making the best use of your time." And this gal went on to explain to me that she had come from a series of pretty bad experiences that were religious or spiritual in nature. And she went on to describe a few. I asked a few probing questions. And for the next 2 hours, she and I just talked. And in fact, she had a couple of questions. I tried to answer them to the best of my ability. But I was very mindful of the fact that here was a person who was clearly outside of the family of God. She had no relationship with Christ. And yet she was hungry. Yet she had questions. She was open. In fact, when she started sharing some personal things at one point, she even started to cry. And then a total stranger sitting next to me in an airplane asked if she could stay in touch with me by email. And so it's on my agenda today, on my to-do list, to try to write Abby and to simply thank her for the opportunity of just sharing a little bit of my life and her life with me in that 2-hour flight. So you never know what God is going to ask us to do as we try to do justice, as we try to act kindly toward other people, and as we try to walk humbly with God. It's a matter of seizing the moment, of paying attention to every open door of opportunity that God gives us with unbelievers. Hope that you'll enjoy the chapel this week, and I'm really looking forward to the opportunity to share with you on Thursday. Thanks.